What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. This week, my guest is Holly Porter. Holly, how are you doing this week?
I am great. Thanks, Rob, for having me.
No, I'm glad we could square this up and get it on the calendar, and I'm excited to kind of dive in and hear a little bit more about you as an individual and what you've got going on.
Always something going on for sure.
All right, well, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners real quick, just so we know who we're talking with?
Oh, you bet. Well, I am a through and through entrepreneur since I was about 12 years old. Both of my parents were entrepreneurs. So I don't relate to the normal 8 to 5, 8 to 6, 9 to 10, whatever anyone does. I like to do my own thing. And I've had 11 startup companies, not really all related or anything. And I get bored easy. And I usually had 3 or 4 at a time. I've had a couple for 20 years. So it's not like I just jumped to the next shiny object, but I definitely get distracted by shiny objects. We have 8 adult children and 18 grandchildren. So that keeps us pretty busy. Besides, they live all around us. So that's kind of nice. But a big shift for me was in 2021 when everybody was suffering from COVID. I got COVID and spent 70 days in the hospital. That's 70, and had $1 million hospital bill in that time frame and was intubated twice and had a trach, had sepsis. And then after I got out, all the long COVID stuff started hitting. And so it was really a challenge and such a shift in my life to go from being a perfect healthy person to now being an autoimmune compromised person. Walked in on no drugs, walked out on 12, which I quickly got off of because I'm more holistic. So that was a big shift. I had lots of out of body experiences. I had a near death experience and a spiritual transformation experience while in the hospital. So talk about a game shifter. I was definitely redirected, and that's the path I've been on ever since.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you had to go through all that, but I'm certainly glad that you had successfully gone through it all and you're here today to kind of share a little bit more about what's going on. But I'd love to dive right into what you were talking about there in the hospital. You said you had a spiritual experience and your life like totally changed, it sounded like. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Oh gosh, there's so many stories that are way past the time frame for your show, but the thing I want to explain first of all that I didn't understand. I had heard of near death experiences prior, but I didn't know until I went to a conference called IANS, which is International Association of Near Death Studies. And hundreds of people go to this every year. I'm actually speaking at it this year, which I'm super excited about. And that's what they're about. They're about out of body, which I didn't understand was different. So that's when you leave your body more in an astral capacity. And then there's spiritual transformation experience, which I think is kind of similar to a near death, but then there's a lot of people that have them that don't get near death or, heart doesn't stop or anything. And they have these experiences. And then there's the near death experience when you are going somewhere else, usually and hopefully somewhere a lot brighter and not darker.
Yeah.
I actually experienced a little bit of both in mine. I feel like the first about 3.5 weeks of the 70 days I was in the hospital is when my experiences all happened. The out of body kind of were just weaved in it. Then I had the near death, and then I had the spiritual, because my spiritual transformation experience was quickly to say that, sum it up real quick because it's pretty fast. And then, so you don't get a lot of the juice, I guess, without all the details. But my mom came to me. I was praying. I was not doing well. And I was praying, look, me and God got to have a talk here. And this sucks. I don't like this. And if you're not going to get me better, then get me out of here. Like I was
Hmm.
surrender, total surrender. And I was also kind of upset in the prayer. My little sassy redhead side came out. And I was upset because I had a cousin that they had just read a text to me before they put me back in a coma. I was in a coma about 32 of those days.
Wow.
She was basically praying for my husband and I. He was home with COVID. He was sick, but not sick enough to be hospitalized. So he couldn't even come see me for the first 3.5 weeks when I was the worst. So that was heartbreaking. And she saw, or I should say felt, she's a feeler. And she was praying and felt all these spirits around and asked what their names were and was communicating that, not that she normally would through a text, but because she knew I wasn't doing well, they wanted my sisters to read it to me. So I took it that this isn't fair. Why did she get that experience and I didn't? And, kind of like the family rivalry, it's like, this isn't
Yeah.
fair. I'm the one suffering. And So calm down. Then it was like my mom came and visited me, and she just passed away about a year and a half before. And she was with me a lot. She was on my right side. And she just said to me, "It's not your time to go. And you need to fight." And when she said that, I don't love that word. Like that just, ooh, fight. I don't want to fight. I want peace and love. I don't want to fight.
Yeah.
But when she said it above my bed, I have lots of experiences with my bed in the hospital, but above my bed came all of these ancestors, grandparents, aunts, uncles, my brother that passed away. I had a grandbaby that had passed away 6 months before as a 2 day old baby. And she was an
Wow.
adult, but I knew it was her. And they all came in white and they appeared and they started chanting, fight, fight, fight. And every time the word fight would be said, a whole nother group of people would come behind him. And then, there's my husband and there's all the kids and then there's my friends and my siblings. And then I started just seeing like crowds and crowds and crowds go just as far as I could see. And I look back now and I think those were all those prayer lists that I was on. I have friends all over the world, and the only way they knew
Wow.
how I was doing was the updates my family was giving for me while I was in the hospital. And I mean, they all expected the next one I was going to be gone, because it was really bad. And when that happened, it just assured me that's all I needed to know was that I was going to live and that I needed to fight. And it wasn't easy, but that from then on, it's like I knew in my heart and soul that I'd live. And so obviously I did. And here I am.
Oh man, that is a wild experience and very cool and unique to be able to connect and see a lot of those familiar faces and even unfamiliar faces and just being so connected there. That's gotta
Yeah.
be you gotta still be kind of riding that high now.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, it's such a more fast story to tell than the near death. The near death is usually a whole podcast. I do 45 minutes, it's long. There's a lot of details to it. But I'll tell you a funny thing was I would always take my bed with me. So when I traveled, especially out of body, my bed would come because I think subconsciously I thought if I leave my bed, I'm not going to get my body back. So it's just going to come with me. And so we have a book we're working on, and even one of the chapters is me in my bed, because me in my bed, we were like tight, and it
Yeah.
traveled with me. And I remember having an experience where an ambulance would pull up to like my room, hospital room, which I never left. I had all my surgeries in there. I was in there for about 30, 31 days, and then I got transferred to another hospital. So that's where all these experiences happened. And the ambulance would pull up, and I was like in a Connex, like those storage, crates. And it would hook up and it would take me on my journey. Sometimes that's how I left. Sometimes I just took my bed with me. It was just crazy, just the things that happened. And I went back in time in my out of body. I never went, I did go present a few times, but I never went in the future, which is fine. But back in time, I ended up being in this little town called Perwin, Utah. And there's a museum there home that was an old pioneer home. And I knew it was familiar. I knew I had been there before, and I knew it was some relative. I thought it was some kind of a grandfather's home. So when I, got better and I looked up in all my genealogy stuff, I realized it was my great, great, great grandfather's home is where I was. And I have visited it again, and this creepy staircase that was there, it's still there. It's just like when you get confirmations later of things that you saw, you're like, that was real.
Wow. So that's pretty wild. I've never connected with somebody who's time traveled into the past or had so many out of body experiences. So how does that work into what you're doing now? Are you traveling and sharing this? Because you said you're speaking at that conference later this year, correct?
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting because a lot of podcasts I'm on, I do talk about that, but I was a speaker before. I have 15 books. And so I was for the last like 11 years, I've been traveling and speaking and meeting people all over. And on transformational type stuff, business, like really, because all my companies, they're really all over the place, but really I was told to start a nonprofit. So we have a nonprofit called Adventure Bucket Wish, and that is slow going. Everything I feel like slow going now because of my health mostly. And the long COVID's just up and down all the time. The spiritual stuff's just started coming out this year. Like it seems like that seems to be a lead with what happened, obviously. But I also had a company that was a software tech company that I had never done anything in tech before. It's very slow going, but I was going to partner. Just before I went in the hospital, I pitched a company that had $1 billion backer, and they wanted to partner. And I was told not to when I was in the hospital. Like, that wasn't the highest and best thing to do with the company. It would take me longer, but don't partner with them. And, you look back later because then you're like, dang, I would have been a lot further along. They would have had all the money backing. That's okay. I know it was the right thing. You get little confirmations along the way and you just figure things out. But I got some confirmations. There was some gaps missing in the near death story that I had because I really just saw the light and I just saw the love. When I came home for 2 years, so it's been about 3.5 years now since I got out, but for 2 years, I had the worst 2 years of my whole entire life. I mean, we have had these companies, we've been embezzled, we've had to bankrupt, we've had divorces. My husband and we've been married 23 years, but we combined families and all those things times
Yeah.
10 didn't add up to the pain I went through for 2 years after. When you think I survived, I'm going to thrive. And I did
Yeah.
everything but. Like, I prayed every day for 2 years. I cried every day, which I don't do. And I prayed, God, why did you save me to put me through this hell? Like, what is happening? I'm in almost every relationship, but a few friends, a couple siblings, and my husband were jeopardized. Like, everything just went wrong. And I was like, it was awful, awful. I know now, looking
Yeah.
back. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, that is pretty wild because you've got some extreme strength to you, some grit. Because even just like when you have a plan where you're gonna partner with a company that's got $1 billion behind them, that is some really difficult choices to make. And then afterwards, when you're getting out, going through 2.5 years of just intense stuff, like where did this like grit and resilience come from in the first place? Like, did you just like because those are hard things to go
Yeah,
through.
they are. Luckily, I'm the type of person that I am a mover, and when I decide something, I don't look back. It's not always served me, but most of the time, I feel like the intuition I had before all this happened was pretty good. And most people have it and they just don't listen to it. I always just say, follow your gut because it's usually right. And sometimes you don't think it's right at the time, and later you look back and go, got it. Thank you, for listening. And that's a lot of times what we don't do is we don't listen. And so I think just being able to shut down things and move forward. I mean, like, people would say, when you're so stressed, like, how do you sleep? And I just learned early on that I needed sleep. Number one, I needed 7 or 8 hours, and I had to shut my brain. I'm very ADHD. And it was like, you have to shut it off because you don't function if you don't get that sleep. You're not at your optimal best. And so it was just, for me, it was just a brain thing. Like, for instance, I'll tell you what's been a big struggle since, kind of a stupid example maybe, but I got sleep apnea because I got pulmonary fibrosis. This is all from COVID. And so I have to wear a mask and it covers your whole face. Well, I have sensory issues to light and sensory issues to sound. And my ears ring so loud that I notice it mostly when I go to sleep. So I have a paid YouTube account so I don't get any interruptions. And I listen to like binaural beats or affirmations all night long in these like flat speakers that go hooked to a mask. So I'm wearing a mask, speakers, so I don't see, I don't hear, I have a hard time breathing, and I'm super claustrophobic. And I just have to like do this mantra. This is saving your life. This is saving your life because it's a struggle. So
Yeah.
it's not like I'm out of it. I look back and see all the blessings and see the whys, and I'm still figuring out some of the whys, but you just keep
Yeah.
plugging forward, make things happen.
So you had said that you've got a pretty great intuition and listening to your gut sometimes, and there are plenty of times where I'm trying to make different decisions, or I know I have clients who are trying to make different decisions, and it's challenging to kind of feel the gut feeling because either two choices feel really good or two choices are less than ideal. How, like, what if you're having trouble like listening to your gut? Do you have any advice on how to kind of like tune into your own intuition, I guess, a little bit better?
Hey, search for, if your clients are listening here, clients, podcast guests, sorry. If they're listening, what I would do is research body pendulum. So that's when you're standing and you can actually ask yourself. So do a question like, is my name Holly? My body's yes is forward, no is backwards. I mean, this is just something that's worked for me for years. And if I really tune in and listen, if it's you got to know the questions to ask, right? Because you can't open-ended questions. You've got to be very specific, just like your goals. You need to be specific.
Yeah.
So then ask the question and then watch and just fill in. I always close my eyes and I just fill into what my body's doing. And if it's going forward, and sometimes they'll wait. Sometimes I have to like, okay, I need to reframe the question. For me, that works often. I had the gift of knowing. And if you know what that is, you know what that is. And people would say, how do you know something? I don't know. I just knew. Like, I wasn't psychic or anything. I just like knew it was right. That seems to be dialed in a little better now. I don't claim to be a psychic or anything or a medium or anything like that, but I've had a lot of great experience and I feel blessed for it. And honestly, if I listened more myself, I'd probably have a lot more experiences. So I think it's just when you feel like, oh, I don't know if I have that intuition. There's a lot of times there's two good choices, like you said. They're not necessarily bad. It's like, but which one's better? Reframe the question and ask it, is it, or ask it on a scale of 1 to 10, and you could do the body pendulum, like tell you go forward, count. This 10's great. Should I do this? 9, 8, 7. I mean, I hope that made sense, but there's just ways that you
Yeah.
can ask. Your higher self knows so much more than we want to believe. And when we're making business decisions, spouse decisions, relationship decisions, kid decisions, my dad used to always tell us, of course, he had 9 kids. He said, if you wait to have kids till you have money, you'll never have any. I always remembered that. And I thought, yeah, that's probably true, especially nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, I love that because I remember somebody first sharing with me about giving back and donating money and stuff like that. It's like a lot of people wait until they have money to donate, and they said the same thing. It's like if you don't donate now or when you don't have any money, you're never going to donate later when you do have money.
Law of
And
reciprocity. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
true. So true.
and I love that you were talking about how you needed to prioritize your sleep because I'm one of those individuals too who can kind of fall asleep pretty much anywhere, like stressful situations or not. Like I'm pretty easy at going to sleep. And I think of that as sometimes like a superpower for myself because it allows me to kind of subconsciously think about what I need to go through and different projects or different things that I want to be doing. I do it a lot also while I'm sleeping, like kind of subconsciously. I
Me,
mean, driving, not sleeping while I'm driving, but like subconsciously kind of thinking. I'll turn the radio off and just kind of sit in silence to kind of like process information without necessarily thinking about information. So I love that you had mentioned that prioritizing your sleep because I think it's much more important than just getting your rest. I think there's other things that are going on with your brain when you're not actively thinking and doing certain
it's
things.
true. Another thing I do is I picture clouds. Like if I'm asleep and I'm just like rewinding something that's happening over and over and over, then I know it's just going to be there all night long, right? And to let it go, I just picture that thought moving out of my brain onto a cloud, and that cloud takes it away. It'll be
Mm,
back. You'll be able to stress about it tomorrow, but I like have to mentally just picture and compartmentalize things like that. Or you do just worry all the time. And you do
yeah.
need your rest. Like people don't realize how much interviewed on my podcast a sleep doctor. She was saying you needed 10 hours. I've never heard that before.
Whoa.
Yeah, she said people need 10 hours. They don't even realize it. But I think it's smart if you can train your body to see what you need and then like don't wake up to an alarm if you can, do that.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes I don't know, it just sets
Yeah.
everything off.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in paying attention to what works for you. And like some days I'm getting like 6 hours of sleep, and then other days I can get a little bit more. But I can't imagine getting very much done if I'm sleeping 10
I
hours every
know.
single day. Like
That's because you're
that's,
an overachiever.
yeah,
But I don't know, maybe if you had more sleep, you'd be more productive
that's
during
true.
your waking hours. I
It's
don't get
true.
10 hours ever, I don't think.
So Holly, tell me, what else have you got going on this year with your businesses or with speaking or what have you got going on that you're really excited about?
Well, I'm really excited about my tech company. It's called Retreat R. And originally we started focusing on the software piece of it. So if you picture what Airbnb does, but we do that for retreats. So retreat venues, retreat leaders come in and they book and they host retreats on there. That needs a lot more development and a lot more money raised. Remember, that billionaire would
Yeah.
have helped me out a lot in that situation.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So this year I decided, you know what? I focused a lot on that, spent a lot of energy. And I decided let it sit for a minute because I've been a real estate broker for 20 years. And we have a division of Retreat R&R that is real estate related, and it's buying and selling. We broker luxury retreat properties. And so
Uh,
that's really, I don't know why I didn't start there. I think I was so excited to create this tech that was so needed. I've seen a couple other things pop up that are similar, which doesn't even bother me. I think competition's a great thing. It just makes people step up and be better. And now I can just look at what are they doing that's good? What are they doing that's not so good? And let's make ours better. Anyway, so I'm really focused on that, looking for people that want to own luxury retreat properties, maybe even fractional ownership. That's kind of a new buzzword, that fractional and everything right now.
yeah.
So maybe people that want to do that, we connect them with maybe retreat leaders that will move into the properties and manage them for them, because that's maybe they never can have one of their own. So just connecting and putting people together that way has been a big passion. We also do a concierge service where we do the retreats for people. So more corporate level or higher level coaches that don't want to be in the hands of the logistics, and they just want to pay a fee and have everything done. They just show up and stay in their genius. So that's something else we offer. And then we have the podcast, All Things Retreat Podcast, which is building our community. So when we do have the software built, then we can have people know about it and come join us.
That is pretty sweet. I am really intrigued by the app and software and everything you got there because that's really cool. And I feel like maybe it's just the circle of people that I've been connected with recently, but a lot of people are getting back into the retreat kind of world,
Yes.
like very small retreats, the bigger, more complex kind of retreats. And I'm guessing because we're starting to get further away from COVID, that now people are like comfortable traveling and doing things with
Yeah.
people that they don't necessarily know. But so I'm guessing where did this idea come from? Is this from when you were in the hospital or?
No, I did have it just before. I'm an idea
Yeah, that's
girl.
right, actually.
I usually am 2 years ahead of my time. And so then 2 years rolls around and it's like, oh, now it could have really taken off. But then I'm kind of like, I'm over it. And so that's happened on several of my companies. Not that they've failed. I've just moved on and I've either sold them or I've just kind of slowly closed them down.
Hmm.
But this idea came, it was ironically because when I started working on it, I had had the idea 2 years before. And I tabled it and didn't think about it until I had a friend that had the billionaire backer that wanted to do this tech stuff and wanted all these companies to come work with them. And I was like drooling about it. I was like so excited. I want to get into on this. And I got to come up with an idea. And then I remembered I had the idea. And it's like timing's everything. And I was a little bummed when I started seeing a couple other software companies similar to it pop up. And I thought, oh, wow, I should have acted faster. And I don't feel like I could have acted any faster than I did under the circumstances. I mean, I incorporated the nonprofit and the retreat R&R company within three months after almost dying. So I'm like, hey, give yourself some slack. I know it'll happen. I know the right partners will come up. So it's okay. It's super
Yeah.
exciting because it's $180 billion industry in 2022, and it's expected to be 364 by 2032. It's not going anywhere.
Jeez. Wow. And I love that whole mindset and like your patience with it because I'm very similar in a way. Like I'm really comfortable with how my business and my projects and everything is kind of growing and evolving. And I see a lot of like people starting out, maybe they're working with their side hustle and maybe they're shifting the hobbies into like a small business and they get frustrated because they're not moving quite fast enough. And I'm trying to always remind people like, hey, this is the journey. Like you got to embrace the difficult stages. You got to look at the difficult challenges as opportunities for you to grow and kind of get better. And so I just really appreciate you talking about how you're patient with how things are kind of growing. And you had that like $1 billion backing, but you chose this other way. And that's just inspiring to hear.
Yes, this is part of listening, right? And I haven't always done that. I mean, like I said, I like to move fast, and listening and being patient are not my big skills. I mean, I tell my husband I married him for patience. I learned that already. Why do I have to keep having them? It's just another lesson. And yeah, I think as entrepreneurs and business people, we want everything now. And I think sometimes that's not always our highest and best timing.
Yeah.
We have to just like let it go, and it'll happen. And you find out why
Yeah.
later sometimes things don't happen when you think that was all you ever wanted. And later you look back and you're like, wow, how small was I thinking that? but you don't find those
Yeah.
lessons out. When you're in the middle of it, it doesn't feel so good. You just want everything now.
So I got to ask you because I've been spending a lot of time researching and reading and kind of developing my ability and skills of connecting with other individuals, whether it's networking or speaking and different things. So I'm really interested with the ability to connect with others, and you had a individual or you had a company or somebody that had $1 billion backing. So like how do you connect with people through all the different businesses and things like that? Like what are some skills or tips that you have helped you get connected with some powerful individuals?
Yeah, I think that really goes back to your why. What's your why of why you're doing something? I feel like I came out of my experience in the hospital with purpose that I never had before. Before all my books, they're not really related. I'd get an idea and I'd run with it. I did it. I started publishing because in 1 year I was publishing like 4 books of my own, and I'm like, gosh, I might as well just be a publisher then, right? And so I added that, and I helped 110 women in a book series become international bestsellers. Like that felt good to me to give them that, and whether it helped them or you, I mean, I know some it did, some it didn't, but it's just building those relationships and figuring out the right room to be in. So, and figuring that out, by the way, quickly, because I joined many groups. So when I moved, so I ran for political office twice in a 2 year period. One was a city council, one was mayor. This has been years ago, like 2010, 12, I think. And then I moved. So I say those losses for me were my biggest wins I've ever had. I felt like when
Really?
I moved away, which was only an hour away, but it was like moving to a different planet. I started traveling, writing my books, speaking. I became a whole new person. Like I was just like, wow, all that I was giving and doing and serving in was holding me back from what I really felt like I could do. And so I really didn't monetize a lot. I didn't do my books for money. I just was out there so excited to create something new. And so I mostly was looking for the relationships and connections. And the craziest thing now, that's been 10, 11 years ago, is I knew about 2 years ago, I looked back and I thought, I never could figure out like the why of all that. And I went into a lot of debt doing all the things I was doing. And then it was like, oh my gosh, those relationships are for right now, what I'm doing. And so I've been able to go back and look at some of those, and I know people all over the world now, and so it helped me get into some groups. So it's like at the time I was just like, I just wanted to speak. I would speak for free. I would travel. It cost me $500 to get on a plane and go somewhere and speak for free, but I had
Yeah.
no real like thing to bring them in too much. I mean, I was doing some consulting, I was doing some coaching, but I was just having a good time. It was like lights me up to do that. And now I'm older. Now I've had this other experience, and it's like you got to be a little more strategic. I've always done philanthropy work, but I have a lot more that I know I'm supposed to do. And this software company is a means to that. It's a build it, sell it model for me so that I can go do lots of things, which now are inspired from that 2 years of hell that I went through. So I'm grateful. So I think it's just figuring out like being in those right rooms and then looking for those right introductions. Don't go after people with what you're going to sell them and what they're going to do for you. Just go with a servant heart and it'll come around. It took me
Yeah.
10 years, but it's okay.
Yeah, I love that because I see so many people at different conferences and networking events and things that they're still in that mindset of like they just dishing out business cards like
Yeah.
here, buy for me, buy for me, buy for me. And I look at them and I'm like, I go to these things looking to meet people that are cool that I'd maybe like to go grab some sushi with and just kind of catch up and learn more about their lives because I feel like
Yeah.
better relationships is how you're going to create bigger impact down the road instead of
Yeah.
just cold pitching to
True.
everybody you
And you
see.
don't know who they know. That's just it. They might not be your ideal person that's going to help you get to where you need to be, but who do they know that will be?
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. Well, Holly, I appreciate you taking this time. I know you're super busy with a lot of different projects and all. So it's been really great to have you on, kind of share a little bit about your story. It's really unique things you've got going on. I'm excited to hear more about the software when it's getting rolling and it's ready to roll. And I just really appreciate this. So if people are interested in staying up to date and how to get in touch with you, what's the best place for people to go to?
If you can put in the show notes my link tree, that'll have all my social medias, which I'm on everything. It'll have my email, probably phone number, probably website. I mean, everything's on there. So that's a good spot to go.
And for those who are listening, who would be the best person to kind of check in with you? Is it somebody who is looking to host a retreat or go on retreats, or is it somebody for consulting? So if I'm listening right now, how do I know I'm the best person to come check out your link tree?
Yeah, if you're thinking about doing retreats, I really teach people to have multiple streams of income, not go create a new business like I did. Just add the income stream to what your genius is in. Do retreats around that so that it's just part of your business model now. It's just a new income stream. You can sell your high ticket items at retreat. You can do so many. So I'm happy to have a quick chat with someone to see how I can help them and if we can be a good fit and I can see how to make things happen for you. That's great.
Perfect. So, yeah, anybody who I know, I'll definitely be reaching out and touching base because retreats is something that's new on my radar that I'm super excited to kind of dive into. And if anybody else is, I will put it in the show notes and a tag in the social media and everything else so everybody can find you and touch base with you right away. So again, Holly, thank you so much. But before I let you roll, I got to ask you if you're going to boil everything you've learned down from all your different entrepreneurial endeavors and lessons you've learned both personally, professionally, and spiritually even, what would be your number one piece of advice for your younger self?
Ooh, I would probably just say never give up because you're going to have lots of challenges come your way, but just figure out a way to work through it. You'll work through it. You'll come out on the other side as a better person and a stronger person. So
I love that. Holly, again, thank you so much. This was fun. This was exciting and very interesting too. This was great conversation. And I'd love to have you back on the show in the future.
thank you. Love it.
All right, guys, that's all we've got for this week. Make sure you guys go out, follow her, and check the show notes so you can grab that link and have a conversation with Holly as soon as you're done with this episode. As always, let me know what you thought about the episode. Reach out to me anytime so we can continue having awesome guests on. Until next time, guys, peace, 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 peace.